Hello and welcome to Bloomberg Quint. We're here to wrap the markets for you. Not much happening in the markets today. So Nifty continued to trade sideways within a narrow 40-point range. But however, the good news is that it ended about 0.2% higher at 8435. So the good part is that our government has been able to hold 8400 quite well, and that's the level that we have seen in the last many sessions.
I think the challenge here is that it's been unable to break the 8450 level, which is considered to be a substantial resistance towards the upside. And I think that's what a lot of technical traders are keeping an eye on. But as you mentioned, we've just seen an about 18-point up move, and this is on the back of very, very average turnover. So when it comes to the cash market turnover, stands around little less than 18,000 crores. However, the derivatives markets turnovers has seen a little bit of further pickup. In fact, standing at around 5.4 lakh crore rupees. And surprisingly, Shraddha, we really haven't seen too much in the futures aspect when it comes to the Nifty.
That's correct. So Nifty open interest stood at, saw a drop of about 0.3%.
Right.
Not a very big change. The Nifty bank open interest grew just about 1.4%. So these numbers, as you said, don't really mean much. Not much of a cue, to take away from the futures markets.
So what's really catching up and adding to the big turnover that we've seen in derivatives is the options market. What we've really seen is that more writing in the 8400 level. As you can see here, it's denoted by this red bar here, and we're looking at further writing in the upper levels of 8600 call. That brings me to the maximum open interest. Well, that keeps shifting between 8,000 and 8,300 when it comes to puts, but 8,500 is the most near-term resistance when it comes to a move upside. Of course, that said, should we see the 8,500 level break, then a lot of these analysts are of the opinion that we could see a level of 8,700 going forward. So that's going to be crucial going forward.
All right, Agam, I'm going to talk about the Yes Bank numbers because your two key earnings for the day that we were going to keep an eye for were going to be Yes Bank and Axis Bank. Fantastic set of numbers from Yes Bank. Not surprising, they have always managed to sort of outbeat the street expectations in the past many quarters now. 30% NII and PAT growth, then that was largely driven by a 38% loan growth. This is despite all your demonetization-led fears. Even on a Q-on-Q basis, which should be a more appropriate way to compare the loan growth, advances have grown about 6.2%. Again, could be an above industry number. So net profit of 883 crores versus 822 crores that analysts were working with. Net interest margins also saw a bump up of about 10 basis points compared to the September ended quarter, and this comes when in the backdrop of analysts expecting margin pressures to come in. Sequentially, the one good thing was that CASA deposits, the low-cost CASA deposits rose about 13 to 14%. Again, that led to a bump up of about 300 basis points in the CASA share as a percentage of the total deposits. And of course, the management said that was owing to demonetization. That share again is expected to reach 40% now, much before the March 2020 target, is what Rana Kapoor said in the press conference. Asset quality, not surprisingly, very steady, very stable. In fact, credit costs fell further to 8 basis points in the quarter. So for the 9 months FY17 now, credit costs stand at about 34 basis points, and this compares to the management guidance of 50 basis points for the full year. Hence, in all likelihood, that is going to come in much lesser than 50 basis points. So no sales to asset reconstruction companies during the quarter, no additional restructuring, no 5x25 refinancing during the quarter. So on an overall basis, it's definitely a good set of numbers, but it may not be as good or an equally exciting quarter for Axis Bank.
No, not necessarily, because as per expectations, we're expecting a drop around 61% when it comes to net profits on a year-on-year basis. Of course, sequentially, we can see a little bit of an improvement or growth, but the reason why we're expecting a decline is because of a higher provisioning. This is something that can be a challenge perhaps for Axis Bank's quarterly earnings for this quarter. Moving on, stress recognition is expected to stay high, and of course, key watchable will be slippages, and that will also be something which will be very important moving forward for the next couple of quarters. But on the whole, it's the bottom line owing to higher provisioning that may be a little bit of a concern. But on the whole, we're also looking at GAIL, as a matter of fact, which has led some of the Nifty gainers upside.
That's correct, Agam. The board said that they would consider a bonus issue next week in their meeting on Jan 25th. So that really drove the strong 5% rally as far as GAIL India is concerned. You also had the oil marketing companies. So you had BPCL sitting on gains of about almost 3%. IOC, HPCL also seeing good gains of 3 and 1.5% each. On the other hand, pharma stocks were trading much weaker. So you had Aurobindo Pharma, Lupin, Sun Pharma, all of these sitting on losses of about 1%. Ultratech Cement and Axis Bank among the other notable losers.
Well, on the whole, when it comes to the broader markets, once again, it's not been any different from what we saw yesterday. We have one gainer for one loser. And among the gainers, we have Ruchi Soya, which has made a surprise comeback. In fact, it's up as much as 20%. It's followed by Suzlon Energy, also gaining 9% in trade. Bhushan Steel, Ramkrishna Forging, and Torrent Power all gaining substantially in trade today. Of course, NHPC on the losing end, declining by as much as 6.7%. It's followed by KPIT Technologies, and KPIT Technologies had also reported numbers, and the traders have sold after its quarterly earnings. State Trading Corp continues to weaken further. Delta Corp also declining by as much as 3.2%, followed by GSW Energy. But well, as far as the broader markets go, these are more or less expected lines. We've had some movers based on your earnings as well, and a lot of them from financial space.
Yes, Agam. First is Ujjivan Financial Services. It was a pat miss on account of significantly higher provisions during the quarter. But again, the management said they were being conservative and providing for more than what was required. But as far as the repayments and collection numbers are concerned, the trend, they said, was pretty encouraging. Collection efficiency stood at about 94 to 95%. So we are seeing some improvement in those collection numbers. Federal Bank net profit growth was in line at about 26% on a year-on-year basis. Asset quality remained more or less steady as compared to the September ended quarter. Fresh slippages came in at about 273 crores versus 266 crores in the earlier quarter. So again, a lot of stable behavior as far as the asset quality numbers were concerned. Of course, both these stocks, I guess, ended with some sort of losses given that they had run out.
Right. So, Shraddha, as you've already mentioned, we are keeping an eye on Axis Bank right now, but we also have the ECB monetary policy week. We're not really expecting too much to come in because the big decision has already been made last month of going in as far as easing is concerned. On the whole, that is all that we have for today. Thank you for watching Bloomberg Quint, and we will see you tomorrow.